Welcome to the Chatterbox with your host, Nicole Parchani. Today's episode features Black excellence and highlights one of the many talented engineers working to make this world a better place, Suliyat Olagbenro. Kemi is an electrical engineer working at Rockwell Automation. As a first-generation immigrant to the U.S., Kemi used her love for math and science to cultivate a successful space for herself in the world of EE. In this episode, you will get to learn more about her journey, what exactly engineers do, and figuring out life's many ironies. How are you doing, girl? What is up?
This week, wow. So I actually try to go into the office like 3 times. I mean, 3 days out of the 5 days I work. So as you know, I recently started working at Rockwell last August. So I moved to Milwaukee from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Wait, what does Rockwell Automation make? Just for the people that don't know, have never heard of Rockwell, or like, what's Rockwell?
This is not sponsored by everything I'm saying here is not representative of Rockwell Automation, the company. But I work at Rockwell, and my group works on motor control centers. So that's for manufacturing applications. So when manufacturing like plants or companies have like a like a layout for their manufacturing room with their motors and everything, they come to us for our drives, our software, our reactors, transformers, all these things that they need to make their motors and their machines work. So that's what my team
Interesting.
does. Yeah. But Rockwell is a large company. It's been in business for over 100 years. And fun fact, it started off in Milwaukee, here in Milwaukee, with a investment and passion of like $1,000 investment at the beginning, and then it grew into this large
But like,
business.
you gotta think about this in relative terms, though. $1,000 back then is more of 1,000 than like $1,000 today. So inflation. But
For sure.
continue. I mean, I'm loving this history of Rockwell.
Yeah, I've honestly never even thought about motor control centers or really even Rockwell until I started working here. It was very, I mean, I get stuff. I mean, I live in America and I'm like, okay, I'll buy stuff, but I never really thought too much into the supply chain of
I
it.
feel
So
you.
a lot of that is stuff that I'm learning now. Like when I have like customers, so we go through distributors who then are like to the direct customers, such as like Procter and Gamble or or I don't know, pet food makers. There are a few like Coca-Cola. Like I've had
Yeah.
some names of companies that I've recognized. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. I buy their stuff, or I buy that
Yeah.
stuff for Monaco, my cat, or whatever. And then so we talk to them and like, okay, what do you need to make whatever you're manufacturing? And then we like go through that. So now I'm like, oh, okay, thinking more about like supply chain, about things that I just like
Yeah.
buy.
I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, definitely. I will say, working, you start to realize, like, oh shit, there's processes here for how stuff are made. Like, you just take it for granted as a consumer. And like, just being, I mean, I don't know, working is, it's a struggle of adulting, I guess. But it's just like trying to realizing all the work that goes into all the stuff that we have. It is really mind blowing, and it makes me grateful because I realized there's actually like a lot of planning and thought put into a lot of this stuff, and like people just like take stuff for granted, and I feel like will quickly like devalue all the amazing work that all these companies do to bring us all the products and services that we have today. And even though, yes, like there's so much that we could be doing better, it's still important for us to recognize like how far we've come, because it never used to be like this. And yes, there are things that could be different, but it's incredible all the moving parts that go into you getting your shampoo, to you getting your toothpaste, to you getting your cat food, to you getting your new computer. But you
Yeah,
don't think about that when you just have to go to a store and buy
yeah.
it.
It's like on the shelf, ready, no questions, whatever.
Exactly. Like, you
Yeah,
don't even think twice. Like, it's always there. You don't have to think about how it got there, who had to, all the people that were on different phone calls to make sure every little thing regarding that one thing that you just get at your store. It's just so many moving parts. Like, it blows my mind.
yeah, and not even like consumer products too. Like they're like, we also service like the wastewater um industry. Like there's so many different industries, the medical industry. Like so, it's not just consumer goods, but everything And then like now, like we still have some issues with like our supply chain, just
Mm,
being able to get in like secure connections to like an on-time delivery to some supplies that we need, and then
it's
having
hard
to
right
communicate
now.
that to
Yeah.
customers too. And like some of them understand, they're like, yeah, we know, we've
And
been
then there's that one
also
person that's like, "Excuse me, my 2-day delivery isn't here. I'm having a panic attack."
like
Okay.
we are literally working around the clock to get it, but if something isn't there, I can't make it be there in a snap because you're upset. Okay, I'm stressed out. You're stressed out.
It's like
Let's
incredible that we can even get items in 2 days shipping, and people are like, "Oh my god, my Prime package isn't here. I'm gonna have an attack." It's like, bro, chill out. Like, it's fine. You will live. It's okay. You know, you will make it the next day. But yeah, I don't know. People be feeling entitled AF, man. It's ridiculous.
yeah, gotta be like considerate of those things. Like some things you
This
just
is
can't
true.
control. You can't
There are some
control.
things you think you have a plan, and then the universe will be like, haha, idiot. Like,
You thought.
yeah, man. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it's crazy to hear about all the supply chain issues, like just because of COVID and what that's done for a lot of businesses. But yeah, like as a consumer, you don't think about that. You're like, oh my god, the toilet paper is gone in the grocery store. Why God? Why me? And instead of it's like, you know what, Jack? Maybe they're just people also had to go home, which means they couldn't process things, which means maybe the distribution centers were bought out. And so as a result, they couldn't secure toilet paper because Sarah and Karen bought like 50 boxes because they thought the apocalypse was coming. You know what I mean? Like,
And like I'm just so appreciative of that. Like I direct, so we have manufacturing plants, and like so as engineers with the orders, you're our job is to communicate with manufacturing plants, and sometimes they're like in the US and sometimes they're
they're
like in
not. They're
Mexico
in
or whatever.
Asia. Yeah.
I haven't communicated with any manufacturing plants in Asia. Mine have been like in Mexico, and just like communicating with them and then like trying to like understand like what they're working through. Sometimes I've like seen in the plants what they're like they build the actual stuff that I like create on the computer. So it's like, I mean, I'm in
Yeah,
the comforts of
exactly.
my home. I'm just like dropping and calculating and
You're like
whatever.
just drawing some LT spice diagrams. Be like, poof.
Yeah, it's like okay, if something I need, if I make a mistake or I need to change something, it's a delete, control, whatever, a button or whatever, a click.
Undo.
Right, I'm like backspace or a quick push of like
Yeah.
a parameter or whatever. But and then like push it over to them, and then like okay, we got this change you made. Now we got to be back like 5 hours. We have to actually
It's
put it
crazy.
together.
Yeah, and like the lead times and everything that you need to be able to get designs made, to get them
Hmm.
manufactured so that they can be shipped out, so they can go to the
Yeah.
distribution center, so they can ride with the client at the right time. Like these are all things that take ridiculous amounts of planning, and like seeing it like is insane. All the work that goes into it, cuz like it's impossible for one person to manage all of that. There's no way. Like it's absolutely impossible.
That
But
would be the craziest.
I am shook. Now I definitely give like these companies props because there's just so much work that goes into being able to do all of these things that we take for granted. Like I don't know if you realize this, but I like okay, I know like we're in EE, and like we always had to write papers and like IEEE and everything, but I never realized until I feel like being in industry the extent to which, at least in engineering, how organized everything is in terms of like from the theory to how they take the theory and then start creating an actual roadmap for like technological development, and how like there are so many like boards and organizations and manufacturers that have to work together so that we can advance in technology at like a specific pace. Because if chip manufacturers make components but then they don't have any retail manufacturers that want to actually use those components for specific user scenarios, whether that be like consumer electronics, we wouldn't have half of the stuff that we have today. And it like literally takes like boards of engineers to sit down and say like, okay, so we know how transistors and semiconductors work. How can we scale this to a point so that we can create faster and faster CPUs, and all of this stuff so that we can get new computers every year that are faster, but not realizing like for your computer to be faster, all of these other things need to have been done from just like the idea to actually manufacturing the technology to make that feasible in this world so that we can actually build systems around them. And it's just like, I don't know, man, it's insane. And then you see like it's all planned out. Like IEEE has roadmaps, for where they see technological development going. Because now we're at 5G, but eventually we'll be at 6G, maybe 7. Who knows what comes after that? But they have a whole like plan, and like humans are out here like 5G will is the devil, and it's like, some weird like they're trying to kill the planet. And I'm like, no, like they've literally planned this out years in advance, so that we could develop technology at a specific pace. But I didn't really realize that until after really like leaving college. I don't know, did you notice that? But then again, I wasn't a part of IEEE in college, so that's
I
probably
wasn't
my
part of
fault.
IEEE, but I mean, during my internships, I had exposure to NEC requirements, so the National Electrical Code, like manual. So like all these like different issues of like different things you have to follow in order to be considered safe or have like certain like
Yeah,
stamp of approval from an entity, like another group of engineers and lawyers and all these other people who are like
exactly.
who like have agreed that okay, we've agreed, we've done all the analysis, we've done all the testing and trials or whatever, and these are things that you're allowed to do, and like try
Yep.
to account for as many cases as possible. Like there are a bunch of cases that could occur when you're trying to be innovative and like also like provide a certain service, technological service or whatever, or like even the UL code, UL, like you have to, like in my role I have to like provide UL justifications for any like changes deviating from like standard that I'm doing. Like if a
Yeah.
customer comes and they're like, I know you offer this and this is like been certified, like you've been doing this for years and it's gotten the UL and the NEC certifications, but we want this because they're also trying to innovate and they're trying to
Yeah.
like create stuff and cheaply, safely and whatever. So it's like, okay, this is different. So we're going to have to deduce from what we know we can do and like what the changes are and like go from there. So like there's just so many like different steps that like yeah, it's just, like it's
It blows my mind. Like learning about like, I mean, I understood, Bluetooth and all that, but really understanding like all the different RF protocols and like how they assign specific bands to do specific, data signals over specific ranges. And it's like they perfectly like parceled it out so that you have specific bands for microwaves, you have specific bands that are where your cellular, networks operate, where you have specific bands for where Wi-Fi operates, for where Bluetooth operates, and then they have all of the standards that dictate how is it supposed to work within what range,
hmm
what's supposed to be the master, what's supposed to be the slave in terms of like who dominates this, who connects with who,
hmm
and all of these different things. And it's like when you're a consumer, you're just like pair Bluetooth, not thinking about like all of the engineering protocols that determine how that process is supposed to work, how that exchange, that handshake between the master and slave is supposed to work. And it's just like, I don't know. I've been learning about a lot of that lately, just having to ramp up and really understand like consumer electronics. And it's been fascinating, like so fascinating because it blows my mind. And it's just like, wow, like people, the smart people do actually have shit figured out. Like they do have a plan, and it literally makes sense, and it's beautiful to see like how it all perfectly works together. And I'm like, see, this is what happens when you have smart people that are on the same team, that are like towards a goal of like innovation for the public, and seeing how that executes and manifests itself in the masses to build all of this cool stuff. It is so inspiring. Like it just is amazing. Like it makes me proud to be an engineer and to be a human. Like it's just, we are the shit. Like, oh my god,
Yeah,
it's
and it's
so
literally
cool.
like someone's or honestly groups of people's jobs to be like test engineers to like create
Exactly.
protocols that like test like
Exactly.
as many scenarios as possible and get the results and make sure it still meets those like safety and like efficiency,
environmental guidelines. Like I didn't
performance
realize
and everything.
like at least with phones, like I don't know if you've heard of SAR protocols, but it's essentially like how, because you know like your phones emit radiation, but because like we are biological organisms, the FCC has very strict guidelines on how much radiation exposure can be near the human body, and so like phone manufacturers have to create like feedback control systems where if they can detect that the device is near a human body to significantly reduce like the radiation output of the device to protect the human who's using said device. And there's so much testing that goes into making sure like that you meet those thresholds, and it's just insane. And like people just think, you know, like, oh, phone companies are out here to just give you cancer or whatever and like ruin your life, and it's like no, like they actually genuinely have laws and policies to follow that are geared around protecting you, that are geared around putting your safety first. And it's crazy how much environmental testing, you know, tech companies or even just any engineering company has to go through for whatever product they're trying to build. Like it is rigorous testing, which makes me more confident when I do see like, you know, other pharmaceutical companies coming out with drugs or vaccines, because I know like the engineers, the scientists genuinely want to do good, and they have like very strict policies to make sure that that happens, you know.
I'm just thinking like that model in terms of a business model, like you don't like you're creating a product, and in order to make profit you want people to buy it, so probably not a good idea for it to harm people, because then no one is buying your
Exactly.
product. You want to,
Exactly.
it's a monetary incentive to make it safe and usable for people, and it's like
Exactly.
um
That's why it makes me laugh when people are like, the companies are out to get you. Like, why would they be out to get you when they
they
need you to buy their
want
product? Like, they need you to buy it. Why would you buy something that you know is harming you?
hours, days, years of their life to create something that like a lot of people can't use anymore because the first round of people who used it died of cancer or something.
Yeah, died. Exactly. Like that just how is that profitable? Did you know you were going to be an electrical engineer? Like how did you end up picking EE as your major?
So, like, okay, how did it start? So, in elementary school and stuff, I was always like that person who was really good in classes. Like, is and I went to school in Chicago as well, public school in Chicago, South Side, Southeast, and all. And the school was called Powell Academy, nice little area. And I mean, it wasn't like the best performing school, but I feel like the teachers had a lot of passion and a lot of like interest in making it better, trying to improve it. Like it was a diamond in the rough kind of thing. It's like okay, we know all the test scores and the ratings and all these things and experience, but this year is gonna be better. It was always that
Mm.
attitude. At least that's how I see it. And saw it. I tend to romanticize things, so it might have just totally been even at that age I romanticized things. So that was how I romanticized it. I was like, it's a blooming flower kind of school. So I went there and I was the best student. Like I mean, okay, I'm
Hey, if
gonna
you were the best student, you were the
I was
best.
I
Why
was a
you
student.
don't not step in your light? Like if you were the best, you were the
I guess that
best.
that is such a bold claim to
Hey,
make. So I'm stepping back from that claim and I'm gonna say I was a student who was very like eager to learn and it was always working hard, going like
she's
reading
guys,
ahead
she's lying.
and
She was the best. Okay, she's lying to
I
you.
was
She was the
I was
best.
I'm signed up for after school programs, like some like not summer school, because summer school was like for people who failed. But I was signed up for like readiness programs, stuff like
Okay,
that, because I was like, I want more and connect with the teachers and principal and stuff like that. Like I had better relationships with the teachers than I did students.
that's good. I hated my high school teachers.
I was like, I don't really connect well with kids, but adults are fine. But anyway, so I was always like really interested in like my science and math classes. Those are the best classes for me. I struggled my way through art and music and
Art was fun. What you mean? Art is fun.
girl, I just got too much in my head and I was like, you're saying do this, but I don't know how I'm getting from here to there. Like I couldn't make those connections as
Lol. See,
easily.
I was the kid that was like, they told you to do X and I did Y and was like, isn't this X? This is what you asked for. And like, I swear I would go over the top, like extra AF, like
In
was
art and stuff.
unnecessary. Like nobody asked me to do this and I still did it anyways. It's just me, extras, whatever, I swear.
Like after I graduated like elementary school and stuff, I would go back and like I would talk to my art teacher was understanding. He was like, "You're smart in other ways, okay?" It's I was like, "I've tried,
That's
Mr.
one way to
McCarthy,
put
I've
it.
tried." But he would just be like, "It's okay. You're all right." Like there's other students who were exceptional at creating beautiful art
Bro,
pieces. My stick
literally
figures were making it up in the game. They were doing all right.
for like there was so in my element was it elementary school, so my elementary school we would have these like pancakes with dad events, and usually like we would have to make like a gift, you know, for your dad for pancakes with dad, right? And so we had to make, you could have made anything. Guess what I did, bro? So I found this
Waffles.
gigantic ass rock. Okay, hear me out. When I say it was a rock, like that was a boulder pretty much, and then I used that to create a sculpture with pine cones and like pipe
Nice.
cleaners, but a massive motherfucking rock, bro. And this, like, I kid you not, I was the only one that had like a gift that big. And like, I asked my dad why he had it like shined high in our store, like in our office, like he would have it there, like for everybody to see. And I was now
Oh, so
thinking back, I'm
proud.
like, I literally gave him a rock with a pine cone and some pipe cleaner and glitter and sand, and
And it was the
he
most beautiful art piece
showcased
he's
it
ever gotten.
like it was a Picasso, you know, just Michelangelo, some sculpted art. And it's just to show you how extra I was. Like, why did I do all of I don't know. It felt beautiful at the time, and you know what? I'm proud of my
Yes,
work to
yes.
this day.
Take ownership of that. That's
Extra.
beautiful. So yeah, I was not the best in like the arts and stuff. So I was like, math makes more sense to me. I mean, I know people are like art is I mean math is an art and whatever, but it's a different art. I because I've been in art.
You're
I
like,
know.
math has answers. It's
Yeah.
clear. The
It's not
process
subjective.
says. Yeah, it's not subjective. It's like, is
It's
it
not
right or is it
I mean,
wrong? Like,
exactly. I mean, you can have a theory, you can, but there's always like, you can go underneath and you can be like, all right,
it
we're
makes
making
sense.
these,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
rules.
process to it.
Yeah, like I can, if I don't know something at level three, if I go down to level two or one, maybe I can figure it out and then maybe
Exactly.
like build it up from there and
Exactly.
understand it. But I just couldn't get there with art. I, I've always tried and I couldn't. So yeah. Okay. Loki, I remember my like first like so this is probably like fifth grade. It's like one of like the earlier elementary grade years. We
Yeah.
had a lesson on electrons. I think it was like chem class, science class, just blanket science class, and we all like created a circuit to light
Mm.
up an LED, a simple LED. It's very basic circuit.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa, that's so cool.
You're like,
I mean,
fascinating.
I mean, the fact that I remember it now, like that
Electron make
specific
light bulb go
lesson,
boom boom.
but but for sure in that moment, I wasn't like fifth grade, like, haha, I'll be an
Yeah.
electrical engineer. There's no way, no.
But the
I was just,
curiosity, the seed of curiosity was
yeah, I just
planted that day.
yeah, like it's something. Yeah, exactly. Something got planted that was like, just needed some more nurturing, some more sunlight, some more water to grow. But it was there. It was like I was like, I like this. This feels nice. This feels. I don't feel gross because I created something that no one's like literally everyone
Yeah.
saw it light up, and everyone agrees that it light up. It's great. It's lit.
I'm dying.
So, so from there, and I So there's this like system in Chicago. So they have this like group of high schools and middle school. Yeah, it's high schools actually, for selective enrollment.
Mm.
So remember how I said like I feel like this is a trend in a lot of major cities. There's like a pocket of schools that are like not that good. They're like neighborhood schools. Like you go there because you live in the neighborhood or whatever. And then schools like they're like charter schools and private schools. Like schools are like people are more like it's more
Mm.
selective. It's
Yeah.
like because of your test scores, because of your extracurriculars and
Yeah.
like ambitions and whatnot. So I didn't know about this like system. So background, my family is from I'm from Nigeria. I was born there and we moved to Chicago when I was 3 years old. So I'm first gen here. And so the whole school system that wasn't something that I learned from my parents. Like they didn't know. They were learning it with me and
Yeah, exactly.
and I was in it. So I was probably learning more about it than them because I was actually going through the
You have
motions
to
of
do
it.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would just learn stuff from like listening to people. Like the connections I built with my like teachers because it was just it was easier to connect with teachers. Like they didn't make fun of me for my accent or the way I
Oh.
dressed. They didn't.
Oh. That was literally my fear, like, as a kid, like, I mean, anytime I watched, like, American high school movies, I was like, "They be ripping people apart." I remember I would tell my friends,
Girl.
like, I was like, "If I move to a American high school, I'm like, I am not playing with none of these people. I already know how it go." Like, literally everybody I've ever known that's moved to the States in high
Yeah.
school got bullied because they were different. Like, it's ridiculous.
I I went through my fair share. I mean, it got better in high school and middle school because I feel like everyone, well, the school that I went to, everyone's there because they were really like academically driven and like
Mm,
goal and stuff. So like I feel like stuff
yeah.
like that they didn't really care about, or if they did, they kept it low key or whatever. I mean, there's some, there's always like a few people. It's whatever. But in middle school, I mean not middle school, in elementary school, I got it. I was called African booty scratcher left and
Oh,
right. I was
damn, that's so
my
mean, bro. That's
my
ridiculous.
braids my braids were not up to par. They weren't, they weren't good. My
Damn.
nose was always too large. I was too African for an African American school for growing up.
Damn.
That was the lesson I learned. But
That's
I
ridiculous. That's straight up bullshit, bro. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Like, that's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Going through it, I was like, I was sad. It made me really sad because I wanted to, like they're your peers. You want to connect with
Yeah.
them, and also I'm
But
talking
kids are
about it now.
young and dumb and ignorant. Like, kids are the most ignorant. And honestly, most of the time, kids just repeat what they see at home. So it's like if their parents are ignorant, then they're likely to just mimic that kind of behavior because it's rewarded, where they're from. So, hey,
And I think yeah, so I don't know. It's like I'm talking about it now too. This like an adult who's like looked back on it and I've grown out of it. Like I'm
yeah.
like now thinking about
You a
being called certain
thriving,
things.
successful,
It doesn't hurt me
melanated,
anymore.
black excellence
I
woman,
I
okay?
think about it, I'm like, that doesn't hurt me anymore. Like being called certain names, being made fun of, being not liked by certain people, that doesn't hurt me right now. But back then it hurt and I was like, but it pushed me closer to like my teachers and that just continued to foster my relationship with like school, living school and like I don't know, over the years I would learn to grow out of it and start to build more like self-confidence and stuff
Yeah.
and but yeah, it was a journey.
And so then when you came to Michigan, did you already like knew you were gonna be in a year or like your freshman year you were still on the fence?
I knew I was gonna be in engineering because yeah, I applied to engineering. Yeah, I got off track, but basically, I knew I wanted to do engineering when I was in high school because I took this pre-engineering class,
Yeah.
and it was just the best. Like that was the class I looked forward to. So I applied to a few schools, but I knew Michigan was where I wanted to go because we went on a campus visit, and I was like, I love it here, and no one could tell me anything else. The counselors were like, maybe you should apply here. And I was like,
You're like, "No?" Yeah, you're like, "I'm
yeah.
going to Michigan."
Yep. So I got in super happy. I got my acceptance. I was in Brazil and I took a year off of high school in America to spend 1 year in Brazil. And I got my acceptance letter, like my acceptance like envelope and everything there. And I was just
Aw,
so happy. I
I
was like,
bet. That's
look,
lit.
I was like, "Look, host parents, I got my acceptance," and it was
And
like
they're
a
like,
little celebration.
"What? Okay. Hey,
Yay!
congrats.
They
Good
were
for
happy for
you."
me, and it was really, really fun.
They're like, "You're not my
But
child. I don't really care." Okay. I'm
they
kidding.
weren't like that. They were loving. They were probably more happy for me than I probably was for myself.
Aw.
Yeah, it was really sweet. I love
It's
them
funny.
so
When I
much.
got
Really
my
good.
acceptance, I called both my parents and neither one of them answered the phone. So, parents, because I know they're listening to this is the truth. They literally didn't even answer the phone. I was like, wow, okay, cools.
They just knew. They know that they weren't waiting for you to announce it. They knew.
My dad would say he was working for my tuition money. Okay, he was too busy.
Man,
But
that hit.
yeah, and so did you? So you knew you were going to be an engineer. So then, when did
Yeah.
you decide you were going to do specifically electrical engineering?
I was going back and forth between biomedical engineering and EE because honestly, EE was the main like during my pre-engineering classes, we did a lot of electronics and like EE based, and then we also
Mm,
did like some mechanical engineering.
yeah,
It didn't sit well with me, the mechanical oriented stuff. But I was just like, I don't care.
yeah.
But
Emmy is boring, bro. Emmy is
yeah,
so boring. I'm sorry
I
to
think
any Emmys out there, but
yeah,
thermal
you're
and
for it.
fluids is just not it. It's not it. It's
Yeah.
not. Mm-mm.
And I think also because I was like, I really liked math, um, and EE was more math oriented, and so that was probably why I was more drawn to that even then.
I was shook if
And
I didn't realize there was so much math. Like I knew when people were like, "Oh, if you're good at math, go be an engineer," but I didn't realize the whole thing was math. I was
you're like, what?
Wait, they told
Oh,
me once I was done
energy
with the calcs.
field?
They said,
No,
once you're done with the calcs, you're free.
never
Lies.
free.
Lies.
Sign your life over to math
You
right
pretty
now.
much you
But so
signing your
yeah,
life away.
yeah, I just started talking to people. Like I tried to talk to as many people I like upperclassmen, and the
Mm,
consensus I got was like DME was just so specific. Like they got like they were the people who would like learn about material science and mechanical engineering and chemical engineering and all these other like parts components of engineering specifically for medical, I mean for bio
medical
and medical like,
applications, yeah.
applications. So that was very specific, like very narrow from the beginning, and it seemed like a better fit to go broad and then narrow in later. And then the fact that uh, you can be trained in EE, and then if you
Still
want to
do be
work
me,
for biomedical,
exactly.
yeah, you can like they will teach you the necessary they'll give you the necessary biological like knowledge for your
Exactly.
job rather than learning everything about bio and then just being
Exactly.
very like
Exactly.
little dipping your toe in other specialties kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's interesting because I feel like now that you say that, we kind of had similar like methods, like ways to getting to EE. Because like for me, when I didn't want like low key, I really didn't want to be an engineer because and the reason why people might think is ridiculous, but so as you know, I'm like part Indian and part Black Caribbean. According to 23andMe, I'm Nigerian too, gang gang. But
Hey, follow
I
me.
like most of my
Coming
dad's
to teach.
family are engineers. And so like even though I wasn't close with like my family in India, I already had this like preface of like, oh, my family is full of engineers, you know? And then the other main field that Indians go into is medical school. So it's like you either go be an engineer or you go to medical school. And if you're in neither one of those, you're a failure. That's how Indians look
It's
at
so
education.
nature.
I
We had
swear,
no
that's it. It's
chances.
either
We
you be a
had no
doctor, you
chance.
be an engineer, or you be a failure. Pick one. You know what I
Ours,
mean?
ours was for Nigerians. You're either a engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or a disgrace.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a failure. Like, what you bring shame to the family? I don't get it. But
Like, I just want to be
interestingly
happy.
enough,
Can that be part
yeah, no, happiness is not a criteria, okay, of birth. No, no, no.
of
You are not
it?
entitled to
Wrong life.
happiness.
This is the
Not
wrong
this is
life
not
you
a
chose.
requirement to raise a successful child. But so I like did not want to be an engineer or a doctor because I was like, well, everybody that's Indian does that. I don't want to be like everybody. I don't want to just
Mhm.
follow that path. Like that's not for me.
Mhm.
And I also honestly didn't even want to go to college. I was like trying to be Mark Zuckerberg out here. I was like, you don't even need a degree. You could just learn that stuff online. Why I even gotta go to school? I just gotta build me a business and get rich. And then my mommy was like, Harsha, can you please just go get the degree? And I was like, you know what? Fine,
Mm,
fine.
because I love
I
you.
will do it. And so I applied, which is I know people like that know me would never think that because I was also like the smart kid in my class, and I'll own it. I was that bitch. When it came to knowing
Okay.
stuff, it was Harsha was the nerd, you know.
Encyclopedia.
I mean, my high school wasn't hard though. That's the thing. Like my high school
Hmm.
was not hard. Like honestly, like I said, I hated the administration of my high school just because I felt like they weren't really invested in the success of my peers. They really were more of like the gossipy, trying to manipulate people,
Hmm.
lying, just like real pettiness. And for me, adults, educators shouldn't be petty to children. So I felt like, yeah, it was just not the place that I enjoyed going. But I went and did what I had to do so I could get my
Hmm.
high school diploma and get the hell out of there. You know, I just
Hmm.
kept my head
Get it
down,
done.
studied. And the thing is, I love to learn. Like, I genuinely love to learn. I'm very curious about how the world works. I've been always fascinated by how the world works. And so I wanted to build companies. Like, that was really what I want to do. And so I figured, well, what kind of company do I want to build? And I was like, well, I want to build technology because I was like, well, technology is what really changes the world, what makes things possible. I want to be a part of that. I want to know how people build stuff because nobody around me on St. Martin knew how to build anything. Okay, maybe, outside of construction and stuff like that, like not building any sort of technology necessarily. There were no engineers in my vicinity. And so I was very curious about how technology worked, how we get computers, how computers work. Like I just had no idea. And so I was like, okay, when I applied to college, I applied to business schools and engineering schools. In Michigan, when I applied to Michigan, I ended up applying for both, but I got into the engineering college. I don't think they let me into Ross yet because you had to like apply a year later or something, you know?
Yeah, you have to
And
be
so,
freshman,
yeah,
undecided, and
exactly.
then
And to
first
me, that
year.
was just too much drama.
Four.
But I got into the engineering school, which by the way, I was told I wouldn't get into. And I got into it, gang, gang. And so when I went
Like
in,
it's hard.
like I no, like literally, like that's just good. Like people in my community don't really support children. You know, they don't support the dreams of
Oh
children.
yeah.
They just tell you your life's going to be a miserable sham of an existence, which I refuse to
Yikes.
settle for just because their lives turned out that way. But you know what?
That's
We're not
not
going to get into it.
optimistic.
It's
Mhm.
fine.
It's another time.
Exactly. Another time. And so I got in and I thought I was going to do BME just like you. I really thought I was going to do BME because I want like St. Martin's healthcare system is trash, has been trash, and it is trash. I'm surprised I was born in that clinical center because the stories that I've heard of some of my friends who unfortunately had more difficult pregnancies and stuff, and St. Martin just does not have the infrastructure to really give, I think, that top quality care that the people deserve. And I was just really passionate about doing something about that. And I didn't want to be a doctor because I just couldn't deal, I don't think, emotionally with losing a patient. Like it was just something
Yeah.
I get too emotionally invested in things, I think. So
Interesting.
I was like trying to do BME, and literally everybody told me, like, you have to go to grad school and BMEs don't make money. And I was like, ouch, that's not gonna work. I was like, I can't. I'm like, I felt bad that I was making my parents pay for international tuition at Michigan alone. So I was like, well, I can't pick a degree where I can't make money right away. Like I need to be able to make something so that I'm not forever in school, because I was trying to get out of school. I didn't even want to be in school anymore, really. And so I tried EE. I took like Ulubi's class, his intro
Love
to
Willoughby.
circuits class. And yeah, I love Ulubi. He literally, I think, is one of the reasons I switched to EE was because his class was fantastic. He was
Hmm.
an amazing professor. He's so brilliant. Because of him, we have 5G. Like, I am so
Hmm.
honored to have taken his class. Professor
Yeah.
Ulubi is the GOAT. There's a reason why he wins all them awards because he's just phenomenal.
Hmm.
And I've loved it ever since. Like I was so fascinated by how the physics of it all, comes together to create all of these unique experiences, and then how we can harness these different electromagnetic waves to send information. How do we actually do all the math that, tells us, is this radiating at the correct frequency? Are we having, is it leaking current, or is it, transmitting at full power? How do we understand, where the current is going to flow in the system? How does impedance affect the flow of current in the system? And just seeing how all of that knowledge relates to building semiconductor chips that go into, PCB boards that build all sorts of technologies, from your microwave to your Alexa to your Surface. Like, it just blows my mind. And so I'm grateful that I picked EE, but I honestly never thought I was going to be an EE. And it's crazy how I made it through, especially because EE is like the hardest engineering field you can study. Do you agree? It's hard, man. It's
I mean,
stressful.
I'm not gonna say it was easy, but I feel I mean, there's this running joke we know. We're always like IOE versus other. I mean, I always thought like chemical engineering was extremely difficult, just the
Chemical
chemistry
engineering, I would
behind
say, is
it, and
also really difficult.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, that and aerospace. But EE is definitely among the hardest, I will say. It was not a walk in the park. It was not
It's
a
not. It's
I can.
literally math. The
There's
whole 4 years,
yeah.
it's literally math the
Oh
entire
my
time.
gosh.
And nobody told me this. Like, I swear, I would show up to class and be like, okay, so we're going to learn about antennas and electromagnetics. Yay. And then she just starts writing math on the board. And I'm like, wait, wait, wait. I thought we were done.
Just like you remember your integrals, right? You remember,
Yeah, now we're going to apply them to Smith
yeah.
charts. Congratulations. And people probably are like, what the hell is a Smith chart? Look it up. It
Oh
is
my
not
gosh.
cute.
It's it's
Okay.
it's really, yeah, it's very disorienting. I was like, where are all these lines? Who sat there and drew all these lines and decided that it meant something? I
Right.
don't.
And then there's the real part and the imaginary part. And then, like,
Yeah.
depending on, you want to make sure you don't flip it the wrong way, sis.
It's
Cause then you,
I just found that so it's just like, okay, there's like, okay, you learn math and you're like, yeah, I can put two sticks together and I know that that's 1 + 1 = 2. But then
no,
you
in this
after
world,
that, you're like, they're
Fourier
imaginary components.
transforms.
There
You can
are like,
switch between domains.
yeah,
What?
it switched so quickly from something so intuitive to something so like,
Just gibberish
yeah,
on
and
the
then
board.
but then at the end of the day, you go from like all this imaginary, like theoretical stuff, but it still translates to something that you actually
Real.
experience and see.
Exactly.
So you go from imaginary and all that. It's really interesting. I
It
think it's so
is.
cool.
Like, I love,
Um,
did you take optics?
I did not take optics.
You should have, man. That class was amazing. First of all, that professor also is fantastic. But optics was so much fun because you get to understand like how light works and how light bends, and then light from a geometric perspective to also light from a particle perspective. Like, it's
Mm,
just so really cool. But you know what? I feel like we've been talking about electrical engineering in such a broad way. How do you explain to someone what an electrical engineer does? Because I feel like there's so much that EE
yeah,
touches that it is insane when you're like, yeah, I'm an electrical engineer. And like, electrical engineers do so many things.
yeah. I would say, yeah, exactly that. It's such a broad, like it's the umbrella, and underneath it, there's like the different like sections of electrical engineering. Once you say electrical, I remember some like a professor told me this, and I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. It's like you say you're EE, but until you're specialized, like you can either be in semiconductors, you can be in optics, you can be in controls and data processing, and they're all different bachelor level, like the level that we went to, we got exposure to all parts that make up EE, but like in grad and where you when you specialize and you say I want to like I know like if we're talking like very base level, like what we say semiconductors and we understand base level like what that means, what that entails from like those classes, or you talk about electromagnetics and I can understand like a base level what that is. Once you get like really into it, you really understand the in and outs of it. That's that's when it becomes more like specialized and stuff. But like EE is just so much. It includes everything because a lot goes into like going from electrons to communication to to like controlling things, to
Literally
processing
everything. I
things.
swear there's no industry I feel like that's not touched by EE.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Like, I mean, it's so
GPS,
important. It's so
EE.
important.
You powering
Like
your crib, EE.
and even like the other and like other engineering disciplines. I know people in mechanical, like you're in mechanical, like people in like aerospace, they have to take a class, even if it's like a very simplified version of it. They have to take at least a
EE.
class
Like you
in
have
EE
to.
to understand circuits because it's everywhere.
Everything.
It's what makes everything work. Um,
Exactly. And it's like just even understanding like, okay, where the semiconductors, that's like all the little transistors that make you able to do all of the data processing within a board,
mhm,
like
yeah.
that's a
So like
specific
switches.
field. Exactly. It's pretty
Yeah.
much switches, just really,
Mhm.
really, really tiny switches
Right.
with volt, like a signal going through. And we
Mhm.
determine from the peak to the, min, that can equate to a 0 or a 1, and now
Yeah.
you have, boom, computer science born out of EE,
Mhm.
because like, well, you first need the hardware to generate, the signals that you can then process with software. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because it's like literally everything from cameras to phones to consumer electronics to like anything from the signals that go all in the air to connect us to be able to have phone calls, even like understanding how audio waves work, understanding how light works. Like these are all a part of
Mhm.
EE. That's all a part of physics. And so for me, like that's why I love EE so much, is because if you understand EE, then you're really understanding the physics, and the physics explains how the world works.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and
that
it's just
stuff is just crazy. Like it's
it is.
magical.
Yeah. Like you go from something so simple as electrons or like a yes or no, false, true, whatever, and that being optimized and integrated in certain ways, like you say, like our computer chips, like microcontrollers, everything, like they start from those transistors, those switches, and then you have Moore's law that just like integrates them all together, and you're like, how much more can we how many
Build, how
more
far
of
can we
these
go?
transistors can we compact in the same space, like make
And
it
there
more
is a
efficient, get
limit.
smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you're like, we can do more because now we have more space. We can be more efficient with like our use of these like switches and stuff. And
We
it's
can
and
only make them so small though, but until you start, then you'll have to deal with like you can't treat it the same, because then you have like it's like the signal to like the particle, like with what's it called? What's it called? That double slit experiment, and like how waves can be treated as particles and as a wave. Like you start
it,
to approach like weird quantum things where like you can only
hmm
make transistors so small, which means you can only pack, eventually it'll get to a point where we can only pack so much, and we will reach a point where we kind of hit a wall. And I don't think we've hit it yet, but the EEs are hard at work to get us
like we
there.
gotta find something. But even what we've been able to do now, like you think about, like I was
Insane.
saying, like you started from something so simple, like everyone understands 1 0. I feel like now in this digital age, like we understand the idea of logics, like
You
false,
understand. You're
true.
you're 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 making a big assumption of the general population,
But
okay?
I'm saying that I mean everyone understands like the basic yes or no. Like you can have something or you cannot have something. Like that is
Kemi,
like getting to that.
you would think people would understand.
And you have the in betweens, like going from
Kemi, people
analog
don't
to
understand
digital,
climate
and you're
change.
like,
People
that's
don't
but
even
climate change is
understand
more complicated than
COVID, okay?
that. All of that is more complicated than yes or no. Like that, I feel like if you don't understand anything else, you understand yes or no, high or low, the basic binary. Like
Yeah.
you understand that. I mean, I have faith in the general population, Harsha. I know people know. They know. But yeah, it's just like I think about that often too. Like when I tell you how I even like went from I'm someone who likes math, who likes science in a very like you can go anywhere. Like math and science are just like, yeah, I can do any I can be like
It's very
I don't know.
fascinating. Like I love to
It
learn.
is.
So for me, it's just like interesting when you see it all work and it all
Mhm.
comes together. It is
Yeah.
absolutely inspiring. Like to write code that works, to build hardware that
Mhm.
works. Like even when we took that BME class with that terrible professor, he who
We
shall
don't need to
not be
talk about
mentioned.
he
Like
was
even when I
interesting.
got my, pulse ox to work, like that was incredible. But the process up to it, I swear I wanted to rip my hair out. But
but like with the frustration comes like a great wave of like accomplishments
This
and
is true.
like
It's like the
we go
high
through
of
all
when
that.
it works, like when the
Yes.
compiler doesn't say your code's trash
Or like the like when we had to do the editing, wait, not editing. We had to do the programming
for
project together.
euchre. Oh Lord.
We were just roughing it. We were
I don't
so
even know
sad.
how.
But the moment it worked and we got those check marks, we
Just
had
like
celebrations. Like we
we
were tired.
did. Yeah.
We were tired, but we were there
You'd be
celebrating like
so
that.
happy.
Those are the moments. Those are the highs. Like the lows
Yeah.
are low, but the highs. Oh my
The
gosh,
lows
the
are low
highs.
and the highs are high. I think it takes a special kind of like psycho to want to do this kind of cycle of reward and pain to be
Oh.
in it when it comes to being an engineer. But I realized like working in industry, like that's literally all that it is. If you can make it through those cycles where you're like, it's not working, nothing is going as planned, everything
Mhm.
sucks, you don't know what you're doing, the math don't even make sense, you hella confused, you ask for help, you
And
kind
then
of
it
make
works.
it, and then one day you change one thing and it works and you don't even know what you did, but this
But you take
time
it.
it works and you're just so amazed and it does exactly what you want it to do, and it's so
Mhm.
crazy because it's like it's a really
Yeah.
simple stuff, some resistors, some capacitors, and boom, you have
Mhm.
something that can measure and interact with the world, and it
Yeah.
is empowering. It is so empowering, and you realize it's like it's easier than it seems, even though it is so complex.
Mm.
You know? Like, I feel like it's still, like, it makes sense. Like, it seems logical. You know, when you just talk about it, it's like, yeah, that seems like it makes sense, even though we're talking about things that you can't even see in with the naked eye. Science is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And I wish, like, people understood it better, because I think if people did understand it better, they wouldn't be as afraid of science and what it's doing to the world. Because I do
Mhm.
think like science is a method in which we are trying as a species to understand the world that we live in, because we live in a weird ass world and we're the only ones of our kind, and we live on a floating marble that just swings throughout space, and of course, it makes sense
Rock.
for us to want to understand, why are we on this marble? How did
Mhm.
it get here? And what does that mean for us and the
Mhm.
things that we can do here?
Yeah, it's so fat. Like one of the books I'm reading right now, I mean, not astrophysics for busy
Ooh, I
people.
read that one. It's so
Yeah.
good.
And I'm just like, whoa, like this is we are
Exactly.
literally a big chunk of rock
Just
floating, being held
floating.
together
Ask
by
me how.
forces. I'm like
Gravity.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so this is so trippy. And it's just and I can understand. I mean, I have empathy for people who are like, that is scary. Like
It
once you start to
is.
really think about that and
It's
you start to
insane.
question,
It is
you
insane
and I
how
feel like the
anybody can
thing
function.
the thing is that we try to rationalize things in a way that makes us feel as
Comfortable
calm as
and safe.
possible
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we don't want to be anxious. We don't want to be inside. We don't want to be confused. I don't. So sometimes someone might just decide that the earth is flat because that makes them feel more comfortable. I
But
don't know.
that's not the truth
I
though, you know? Like
and
the
you're but
earth
I'm
is
saying
not flat.
in their mind, that's the truth that brings them comfort. And
Peace.
that's the
I
only
feel you.
way that
That's how I look
that
at
can like
religion, you know? It's like that's the story that makes you feel good. And so I get it. You know, some
yeah.
stories are better than others, but if it make you feel good and it makes you a good person, who am I to judge
Mhm.
what
Don't harm
story you
anyone.
believe?
It's like, yeah, but it's like, and also I feel like it's the type of education and the access of it and like the interactions that we have. Like when I think about like my journey through like just my like academic and work career and everything like that, it was a series of being in the right place at the right time or not being the not being in the certain place. Like there's so many things that could have happened. Like
Yeah,
what if my parents didn't decide to move to Chicago
exactly.
or to the US? Like what type of education would I have gotten then? What would I have believed in versus what I believe
Yeah,
now?
and what would you be
Like
doing now, you
yeah,
know?
like
Who would
what
you
if I
be?
didn't? Exactly.
Exactly.
So you gotta. That's why I think like everyone. has like these different experiences, this different exposure to things. Like maybe certain people didn't go to a certain school
And
that
that's okay.
that explained the scientific theory, I mean the scientific process in a certain way that was understandable, or they were also in a family that was already skeptical of science and didn't like really emphasize the importance of understanding things that are like that are difficult at first. Like so there's so many things that people go through, and it's like, and like I feel like scientists is like it can be intimidating. Like if you don't understand, you're like we go into it now. We're like, oh, we don't understand it, we can't do it, but we know like there is probably a path that will lead us from not understanding to understanding. So that brings us
Exactly.
comfort. That brings us
Exactly.
comfort versus
It
versus
does
you're
it
like,
does bring me comfort. Like, cuz I mean, humans are genuinely trying to figure things out. They're genuinely trying to do better, and sometimes I feel like in the world that we live in, it can seem like people are so different that we can't get along. And actually like
hmm,
I saw this post on Instagram by this one of these people that I follow. His name's Lex Friedman. He's hella smart. Also has like a great podcast. But it goes like this. It's like the left mocks the right for being dumb, the right mocks the left for being dumb. Let's try empathy and not mockery. And it's like, I believe that
empathy.
strongly. Like,
Yeah.
how are we as a society supposed to help us all grow if we can't even have a conversation? Because, well, I'm just saying, well, you don't understand what I think and I don't understand what you think, so I'm just going to say you're an idiot and
Hmm.
you're going to say that I'm an idiot, and then we'll just never have a conversation, and then we'll continue to isolate, continue to
Hmm.
perpetuate both of our narratives of each other, which is wrong and inaccurate, and continue to create a divide between us when there needs to be no divide. Like,
Hmm.
humans don't need to agree, but we should still be able to have conversations, because if we can't communicate, then we can't share ideas, and that means bad ideas will influence people and create bad outcomes when good ideas are out there, but they're not being shared because we're too caught up in our ego and pride to have conversations with people that are different from us. When you're exactly 100% right. Like, every human on this planet, and there's what, 7 plus billion of us, each one has a unique story, has a unique journey that creates a unique identity and perspective of the world that is valuable to making this world a better place. But
Hmm.
a lot of us, I think, oftentimes will think we're better than somebody, or that someone's lesser than, because of some dumb thing that we were taught when we were a kid. Like, being in college makes you somehow better than someone that didn't go to college. That's not accurate. Like, yes, you might be more knowledgeable in a specific field than that individual, but that doesn't make you better than them. You know what I mean? Like, you still should treat them with respect. You should still listen to their ideas. Maybe
Hmm.
they may not be educated on everything, but that's where you can help. Look at it as an opportunity to help us all be smarter and be better, instead of
Hmm.
belittling each other, you know?
Yeah, and not being afraid to like be humble in certain things, like
Exactly.
not automatically walking into a situation like no
I
thinking that
run things.
yeah, like I like already deciding the conclusion of the
Exactly.
conversation
Before
rather
it's
than being
happened,
open.
exactly.
Yeah. So I feel like that is where like a lot of like miscommunication, the conversation could have been so much better. Like it's been more efficient if like you just went in like, okay, I'm gonna listen to exactly to what you said, try to understand like from as much as I can from what you've lived through, your experiences, and see where my argument will shape and form from that, and go with that. But it's hard. It's really hard. Like those aren't skills that I don't think we were like taught, and they might not be even skills that you can like really teach people like in a class or whatever. It's like you have to live through it. You
It's
have to like
exposure. I think
actually, yeah,
it's like
do it.
intense and consistent exposure so that you're
Mhm.
forced to grow and you're forced to change. I think the thing is people over time, and I don't think it's even intentional. I think it just happens with time. Like, you just, like how people age and the next thing you know you're 40 and you're like, where did the time go? It's kind of like that. I feel like people get caught up with like certain ideologies that they have, that they somehow built from interactions they had when they were a kid, and for some reason those ideas are cemented into how they see the world. So they're like, well, this is how the world works based
Yeah.
on what I have known, instead of realizing that whatever you think you know about the world is probably not an accurate picture of the world to
It's just
start.
a it's just a
Just
sum of all
there's
of our experiences.
exactly. And it's impossible to know and really understand every experience that's really happening in the world because there are so many.
Mhm.
And so no matter how much you try to live your life, you will always have bias and always be skewed because you're one drop in an ocean of consciousnesses, gathering information every day. And so it's
Mhm.
important to challenge yourself, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, so that
Mhm.
you have experiences that force you to grow and that you push yourself to be exposed to things that make you uncomfortable so that you can be a better person, a better human, a better
Mhm.
individual. Because I've realized in life, like, we are all the same, like you and me at the end of the day, we're still the same, like at our core. And physics cemented this in my belief 100%. We're all made up of the same stuff. Even though I look at you and you're different from me, you have different physical characteristics than me, but that's still me. Like,
Mhm.
you're still a version of me, just in a completely different timeline. And for me to go around the world and treat people poorly is stupid because I'm just hurting myself in the long run. Like, I'm not doing anything but hurting myself and putting more negative energy when I should be putting positive energy. And it's like, okay, yes, life is not always going to be great. Shit's going to happen. Things are going to suck. Like you said, there are highs and there are lows, but it's understanding that your reaction is your responsibility, taking ownership for how you show up every day
Mhm.
and trying your best to move through the world as a vehicle of love instead of a vehicle of hate. Because I love Ram Dass. I don't know if I've mentioned that to you before,
Yeah,
but I
we've watched
love
one of his.
Ram Dass. I'm so like, when he died, I really like that hit home because I really wish I could have met him in my life. But he has this saying, like, we are all walking each other home. And I believe that 100%.
Mhm.
Each of us have a role in influencing the lives of the people around us, and it's, to me, that is the purpose of life, is to make that enjoyable and to make that something where you are able to really help improve the quality of life for others. Because even though, yes, I'm gonna die, you're gonna die, everybody I know is gonna die, and so eventually all the work that I put in my lifetime may not be necessarily remembered in any shape, way, or form. It won't matter in the long term, if Earth is destroyed and we're no longer even a planet. But it's still knowing that, like, in my conscious experience, that I could do good and have good and see the joy that it brings the world, I think gives life purpose and gives, like, that's why I do what I do every day, why I get out of bed, is because I know at the end of the day, like, my life is not just about me. Like, it is, of course it is, because it's my life. But at the end of the day, like, I still have to be a vehicle for change for myself and also to just be a vehicle of love to those around me that need it.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. It's hard though. It's hard to be a human.
Yeah. It's hard to be a good human.
It is. And like, people like to make it seem like, oh, people don't make mistakes or people don't commit crimes or people don't lie. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone at some point has committed a crime in their life and they're just like in denial about it. So it's
They
like, I
weren't
don't
caught.
know. Yeah, it's like you just weren't caught for your crime. That doesn't mean you didn't commit one in some shape, way, or form. But yeah, people like to put themselves on like a high horse, and think, oh, you're so much different from me. And it's like, no, if I was born in the same circumstances, I probably would turn out exactly like you. There's just there's something that I feel like people don't realize. Like, we're closer than it seems. Like, we're more alike than it seems. We all want love, happiness, and joy.
Core values. I feel like our core values are very similar. I mean, of course, there are some people who might value other things, but I feel like we bring things. We start to like attribute like certain like start to acquire like certain values, but they're like very like small ones. Like they're not like things that would make us really happy. And it's something I'm still learning. It's like, do I really think that buying this thing will make me truly happy? Is that really what is preventing me from what this idea of more happy is? Like
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. Like just the fact I wake up every day and I feel I'm safe. I live under a roof, and I don't feel like a certain gust of wind is gonna blow everything apart. Or I can turn on the faucet and I can drink water, and I
Yeah.
feel safe that it won't like kill me in the next second or whatever.
Yeah.
I can go to a store and I can get food. Like very simple. Like very things are like very simple, very high standard of
Yeah.
living. And I'm like very fortunate that I've been able to like develop that like appreciation and that like sense of like what's it called, gratitude towards like things that people start to take for granted over
Yeah.
life, because
For
you see it every
sure.
day, you experience it every day, and honestly it might, for some people it might be like losing those things that might be the only way to actually like cement like how good you have it,
Important
like
it
certain things.
is.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
I 100% agree. Like, cause I don't know if I watch like those survival in the woods shows,
yeah,
and
survival.
oftentimes, like seeing these people have to hunt and eat porcupines and rabbits in the middle of the
Ooh.
Alaskan wilderness, I'm like, thank you, Lord, that Trader Joe's is just down the street, cause you definitely wouldn't catch me eating no porcupine out in the forest. I would starve to death, and I'm
Oh my
not fat,
god.
so I'm not gonna last long. Like.
Gotta build your own shelter out of rocks.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm like people do not realize like how good they have it. Like people, we have whole shelters and communities where you could just go to the store. Like if we were living, back in the I don't even know 1600s, 500 BCs, I don't know. It was a roughish time. It wasn't cute. Like I couldn't
Mm,
go and get me some Fenty skin on a Sunday. Like it's just not happening. It's
no,
not happening. It's
could
not.
not go anywhere. Honestly. Oh, unfortunately, yeah, that's sad.
It's amazing to see how far, you've come. Like I'm so proud like you're a graduate from one of the best engineering schools in the country and you out here being a baddie, exhibiting black excellence and being a mentor for others. Like it is so amazing. It's so amazing.
Ooh, wait, what's that? What's that quote? Whom much is given to, much is required. That's how I feel. I'm like, damn, yeah. You have to like pay it forward. It's really, yeah,
It
but
is, yeah. But I think you are like you're a part of Empower You. Like you do so much mentorship stuff. Like I think you do a phenomenal job of trying to pay it forward and trying to create opportunities for others that look like you, to
mhm,
be in engineering. And I think it is like you just have to do what you can every day, like whether it's just like you see someone, you're like, hey, yeah, totally, send your resume in, or you're like, yeah,
mhm,
we can totally have a one-on-one, or just
yeah,
like being open, I think is really phenomenal because it's incredible like how much impact and influence you can have in the lives of others to help make them better, just
mhm,
learning from your own experiences. And
yeah,
I definitely admire you as well because you're definitely one of those people that are willing to try new things. Like you're also learning to ski. I cannot wait for us to have our ski trip.
yes.
Like,
I'm so
gonna be
excited.
ski, ski, ski,
You
ski.
can't see us guys, but we're skiing.
I'm like, cue that song.
Oh
Just
my
like
gosh.
I wish I could play music in my podcast without getting copyrighted. That would be sweet. I'm gonna figure it
Uh,
out. But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I guess like how was it for you like learning new skills and being someone that's afraid, like not afraid to try new things cuz you're crazy, bro. You jumped out of a whole ass plane. I could never. Like I guess like how do you
One
do
day.
all of that? How do you have the confidence cuz I swear pee myself. Like I feel like I could get on the plane, but I don't think I could like jump out the plane. Like I have no problem
Girl.
boarding, it's leaving. That's my
Girl, when I
problem.
when I tell you, so someone else was on the plane with me and he jumped, like he's a solo diver. And when I saw him drop, I was ready to tell them to just take me back to the ground. I wasn't jumping. Like I was scared to the moment I went over the edge, where I was still scared, but I was also having a good time. So I was like, I'm scared, but
It's fun, but my anxiety
yeah.
is telling me no.
Oh, but I'm gonna live it through. Oh,
I mean, we're
girl.
still here.
Girl, when I tell you, wow. Yeah, that okay. Well, yeah, I try to put myself outside of my comfort zone, and I feel like been doing this. I feel like I've never honestly been in my comfort zone. I
You
don't think
do a
I've.
phenomenal job, I will say. Like, you're definitely one of the braver persons that I know. Like
Oh.
you, Camille just be gone, traveling the world, just doing whatever, living her best life. Like, there are a few people
Yeah.
that I meet that are like crazy and brave and just do whatever and don't care. Like,
Oh man. Yeah, you just gotta, go out there and like trust yourself and be like, hey, is this something that I really want to do? Like what's preventing me from doing it? Why am I fearful of it? And then do it. And it's okay to be scared or like very like hesitant about it because it's something you've never done before. Like
exactly.
and I feel like it's easier, like people say, and I really believe in now, like so much easier for kids to be courageous and do
Because they
things.
don't know any better. They don't know what
They
fear is, you know?
they don't. And sometimes you see them, I'm like, and you're like,
Damn.
damn, you are really about to hurt yourself. Like, do you not have any fear? But they're like,
Nope.
ah, I don't know. And that's amazing for kids. And it becomes a certain point where they start understanding more like
Risk.
consequences and
Yeah,
fear
consequences.
and all that stuff. But it's like of course evaluate the risk. Like don't just be like like very
Jump off
like
the cliff. Because
yeah, no parachute, just whoa. But evaluate the risk, but then also acknowledge the fear and still go forth with it if it's something that's like it's not as like you're not about to die or whatever or lose everything. But yeah, I try to do things that make me uncomfortable every now and then. I like to be comfortable, but then I'm like, I've been too comfortable for a while. Like
I think you
let me
said
switch
it
it up.
perfectly. You got to acknowledge the fear. Like, it's not to say that you're not afraid. Like, everybody's
Hmm.
afraid
Oh
all the
yeah,
time. But
scaredy
it's
cat right
like
here.
not, it's just like not letting that stop you. Like,
Hmm.
acknowledging it, being like, yes, fear, I see you. I
Hmm.
know what you're trying to do. I know you're just trying to keep me safe. I know you're just
Yeah.
trying to look out for your
Yeah.
girl. But your
Yeah.
girl finna jump out the plane anyways. Because the
Yeah.
brain says we will live.
Uh-huh. I'm like, thank you, amygdala, for keeping me in check, because
Keeping
there's
me in check. I feel you. I appreciate you looking
now
out for your girl.
now override.
Yeah, but now you gotta chill out, okay?
Yeah.
Mama knows what she is doing.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And honest
I know
okay, what
Kilas, I swear.
there's this one video from Will Smith, and he said it's great. I don't know if this is from him or he got it from somewhere else, but he said sometimes the best experiences in life are on the other side of fear. And I was like,
I
I
think,
feel
yeah, I
that.
heard Jamie Foxx say something similar too. Like, yeah, on
Yeah.
the other side of fear is nothing. Like, there's nothing there. Like, just
Mm.
do it.
Or the greatest things in life. Like some I look back now, like some of the things I've done in life that I've gotten the most value out of or that I just love that and I'm just so grateful that I did or because I looked at something and I was like that's a little scary, but I'm going to do it anyways. Like I when I said I went to live in Brazil for a whole year. So I basically picked up from junior year of high school to live far away from my parents and family and everyone I've built a community with to live in Brazil for a year. People were telling me, "Isn't it dangerous there? Do you know the language? Do you speak?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me all these questions? Like,
Like, these are
what is
future me problems,
exactly?"
okay?
And
Why are
what
you
did we
trying to
do?
ruin it for your
We
girl?
we figured it out in the
We
moment while we
did.
were
That's
there, and then
awesome.
only I can say, like through those experiences, I was able to do this. I able to like figure
Exactly.
this out. I troubleshooted this, or like, of course I was scared. Of course I was in the plane like crying. Of course I was homesick. Of course, like I'm human. I mean, I'm still normal human. I'm normal human
You
emotions.
feel things,
But
yeah.
but I also I like to feel my blood pumping. I like to know that I'm not gonna wake up one day when I'm 40
And
like
be like, where did the time
I
go?
should have did that or I should have done this or can I
Exactly.
that's I'm not trying to have a midlife crisis right now.
Like, I'm too young for a midlife crisis. I need to be
Yeah.
living that YOLO life. Yeah, I
Oh
feel
gosh.
you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it is, I think life is to be lived, you know? I think, like,
Mhm.
one of my fears in life is really, like, becoming somebody that's just monotonous, you know, that just is so stuck in my ways that
Mm.
I'm unable to grow or like I just like I'm no longer willing to be flexible and to learn new things, and I like reach
Mm,
a point where it's like, oh, my cup is full, I don't, well, this is the way that I've always done it, so it has to be right, and it's like, no, like, and no
things are
matter what you
changing.
do, things change. That's like the only constant in life, is that things change all the time. Things are popping into this universe and popping right out of it, and it happens. And it's like it's hard sometimes because it's like you want to be attached to what you know, but you need to embrace the unknown, because it's in the unknown where possibility lies. It's in the unknown where opportunities lie. And the only way you're ever going to grow is by walking that, tightrope between what you know and embracing the unknown. Because in life, yeah, you just don't know. Like, we didn't know COVID was coming.
Girl, I remember one of the car trips we had right before COVID, and you literally were like, "What do you think about us just like working virtually, like remotely?" And I was like, "I don't think that would ever happen." And
And then
bam,
bam, it
it
was
happened.
like
I was like, "Girl,
you're like, Nicole told me.
what?"
She warned me.
But look, here we are now. But yeah, I think that's a good point. And then also like it's only unknown because you haven't done it. Like once you get past that transition period where like from known
Like,
to
I didn't
unknown,
know I could ski. Who would have
now you
thought?
know. Look at that. Now you can't say I
Who
don't
would have
know.
thought? I definitely, it was not, and it's interesting because it's not something like I ever thought I wanted to do. Like, I was never at any point in my life I was like, Harsha, let's learn how to ski. Like, I was there,
Mhm.
that never crossed my mind. Never, 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 never crossed my mind. Like, who in my, like, who is strapping some carbon
Girl.
fiber to your feet and just gliding down ice mountains? Like,
Exactly.
but how can, wait, and you also, wait, we didn't even talk about the YouTube channel yet, bro.
Yes, my YouTube to see me doing all these I mean not everything I do is crazy. I mean just going through life, making things, living life the best
Traveling,
ways I
living her
can.
best life.
Follow my YouTube channel, Kemi, I don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh, how are you? It's
I
your YouTube channel.
I
You need
literally
to know what it's called.
Okay, my Instagram is Kemi.YouTube. Well, for my separate Facebook. Yeah, my YouTube channel is just called Kemi. So I never there's no like
I
really
know when I have to find your videos, I have to like look up Kemi and then like the name to find
for
you.
the
Otherwise, there's just
video.
some random people. I'm like, who are these
Yeah.
people? I don't know these people.
I still haven't figured out how to make it just I mean, I think it comes with like me becoming a bigger
Time.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time.
But I'll provide a link to one of the videos, but it's just a very, very chill channel. It's like lifestyle slash vlogging style, and it's a hobby. I've always loved YouTube. Like I grew up just falling in love with like YouTube stars like Lily Singh and
Lily Singh
um
is good.
she's so funny. I love it. And just like seeing how relatable like things are. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I totally do the same thing. Or oh my gosh, my parents are literally the same. And just feeling that like
Like that
connectiveness.
sense of like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh my god, yeah, they're also annoying AF.
Yeah. I'm like, there's this random like girl that lives in Canada that literally understands how I feel. And that was just that meant a lot to me then. So I was always
Yeah.
hooked on like
I'm trying to
YouTube
think of
channels.
who was my early YouTube stars. Latoya Forever.
Oh, she's
Rock with her
hilarious.
heavy. I used to rock with her heavy. Like, she came to the island one time, and I swear, like, we
Oh,
came out
'cause
in
she's
a
Caribbean,
herd
yeah.
to get a photo with her. Like, I have a Polaroid somewhere
Oh
with
my
a
god,
photo with her.
I forget which island she, but I think she is Caribbean,
Yeah,
yeah.
from Trinidad, I believe.
Trinidad. Okay, yeah.
But then yeah, no, my favorites right now is Emma Chamberlain. I love Emma Chamberlain. She's hella funny, even though she don't do shit but sit in her bed and drink
I still
coffee.
haven't watched her stuff,
I
but you
still
mention
love
her all the
her.
time.
Yeah, she's just like, I love people that just do them and they don't care about like what anybody thinks. Like, they just live their
Yeah.
lives authentically. Like, I really mess with that because I'm sick of fakeness in this world. I'm sick of people just saying what they don't believe just because that's what other people think. I'm sick of people just believing bullshit even though, because it sounds right, even though it's completely factually wrong. It makes no sense. It's like illogical to its very core. And I just hate fakeness. And so I love anybody that I feel like just don't give a damn. Like that's why I love Kanye, because Kanye doesn't care about what any of you think. And frankly, I wish I had that level of just non giving a fucks, because I care a little bit. I care. I be
Care a
letting
lot.
things get under my skin more than they should. And
Mhm.
it's something I'm working on, but I just admire, I love people that really just share who they are. And if you like them, you like them. And if you don't,
Mhm.
you don't. And at the
Right.
end of the day, like they don't care. So it's
Mhm.
like they do what they do out of the passion of their heart, and they just let it occupy space in the world. And hopefully it resonates with folks, you know,
Mhm.
and that's
I
what
mean,
I
it
hope this
definitely will.
podcast does, you know. I hope it does resonate with some people. Like I just try to be
Yeah.
me. Like this is how I talk to my friends. Like obviously if I'm giving a speech, I'm not going to curse, I'm not going to talk in slang. I'm obviously going to talk properly and sound hella intelligent. But right
Mhm.
now like I'm just talking to people that I love to talk to. And so I don't
Yeah.
need to be pretentious, because why? Like you're my friend, you know. And
Mhm.
hopefully I feel like people that listen can understand that and not take some of the things that I say too seriously. You know, like I'm just trying to have fun and live life and enjoy life and share like what I think about and how I experience life.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like,
But
know the audience.
yeah,
It's just
exactly. And you know, hopefully people like it. Like I hope people learn something. I hope they like, you know, get to learn more about the world through me at least, or through the people that I know, because there's
Mhm.
so much greatness in this world. Like I love humanity. I love the planet. Like I love this planet so much. It's so amazing. And I want more people to get platforms so the world can see them, because I love like all of the people that come on my podcast. Like I genuinely admire them, and I just want the world to admire them too.
There's less that divides us
Yeah,
than we
exactly.
think. We're
Exactly.
all so similar. Like, so I love, like you said, like YouTube or like seeing what other people are up to sometimes. Some like
Exactly.
we do some of the most similar things. They're not all the same. They're not the same, but there's things that we can connect and relate to. And sometimes like those places where we meet and relate are like those are what matter.
Funny,
Like that's
exactly. And I sometimes I'm like concerned, because I feel like in this world, like you can't make a joke anymore because people get offended about everything. And it's like I understand on some level, yes, you should respect people. You should respect people's cultures 100%. Like you should have appreciation for people's cultures, or organizations or causes. But at the same time, like the whole point of a joke is for it to be funny. Okay, like that's why it's a joke. Like it's not meant to be a serious thing. And I feel like people forget that. Like people have sticks up their booty. I don't know, man. Like living indoors has just been making people
that's fair.
cranky AF. And I'm like, people are allowed to make mistakes. Like people are not perfect. People are allowed to make jokes, and it's okay. Like if you're offended, well, you're offended over a joke. Like, and it's not always meant, like people like to take things personally, and it's like in life you shouldn't take things personally. Like things that literally half the time have nothing to do with you know what I mean? And people just want to get all mad and play victim, and it's like, bro, relax. Life is too great to be grumpy right now. Why are you so upset? Take a breather. You know, like I don't know, just relax. Go on vacation. Do some meditation or something. Like life is too great, I think. And I think sometimes people miss it. And I hope people realize, like you said, like we're more alike than we are different. Even though there are people out there that would look at me and you and be like disgusted, which
Mm,
I can't
oh
even
my.
imagine that. Like I can't
Where?
even like I can't even fathom like how someone could be
No.
racist. Like it just does not even make sense in my mind. But
What
to
about
me,
my
like
being here
even
offends you
those
so
people,
much?
even the racists, even the people that wish I was dead, you know, just
Oh
because of the color
no.
of my skin, I still wish them love. I wish them blessings. I wish them the opportunity to have them realize that their ego is a facade, and really what they're covering is insecurity and pain and
Yeah.
trauma,
Like
you
who hurt
know?
you that deeply? That
Exact
deeply.
I want the best for all people, even people that I don't agree with. Like, I want the best for you. I want you to grow. I want you to change. I want you to blossom because I'm you, you know? And so, like, I see myself in you. I see that stubbornness. I understand it. And so I can have empathy for it. You know, I'm not going to hate you for being different. What's the point? Like, how is that doing me any better? It's not. So I'd rather help you grow, even if you might try to chop my head off, you know, because at the end of the day, like as Ram Dass said, we are all just walking each other home. And that's beautiful to me, at least. I don't know. Then again, I think I'm crazy half the time. So, you know, I don't know.
Are we all a little crazy in our own ways?
But I mean, I think like crazy people are the best. I don't think anybody's normal. I think anyone that thinks that they're normal is probably not normal because every human's different. Like we're all weirdos.
I don't
We
even
should
know what
embrace it.
normal is. Like normal is a collective agreement that certain things are accepted. This is not. And I'm just like, I don't.
Screw it.
Um, I don't
Let's
know
just have fun.
what's normal now will not be normal in a few years,
Exactly. I'm
and
like,
everything else.
literally, you and I would be considered witchcrafters. You know, we would be making magic, black magic. If we, you know, like back in the day, being engineers, like we would literally be burnt at the stake
Hmm.
for being like, did you know you can send signals over the air?
Like this one is clearly possessed.
She's possessed. Burn her.
Outside
Burn
of the
her.
clan. Like, okay. But
Lol.
yeah, it's just like the goal is to continue moving forward and hopefully forward together in the best path forward
Yeah.
together.
Like, I'm so
And
happy we met in college. Like, I love you. Like,
yeah, oh, I love
I
you
let's
too.
just look forward to seeing our friendship continue to grow and blossom because you're an incredible person. And I think, like, there's a lot, like, you can just learn from being around people and just seeing,
Hmm.
like, helping people overcome their own internal obstacles. Like, because
Yeah,
oftentimes you need support. Like, people don't realize how important support is. Like, having a solid support network will help you get through anything,
yeah,
the most difficult pains in your life to even the greatest joys. And for me, like, I'm always on the hunt for finding folks that are genuinely invested because I love with my whole heart. Like, if I love someone, like, I will bend over backwards for you if I can, and I will do anything. But it's like making sure that, okay, if I love with my whole heart, I need people to love me back with their whole
hmm,
heart, you know, because it's
yeah,
like I'm not, I can invest my energy into folks, of course, but if I don't feel like this is a safe place for me, I don't feel like I'm being understood. I feel like people
hmm,
are misinterpreting me or thinking things, and that makes me feel weird. You know, it makes my energy feel
yeah,
weird, and so I don't. And it's not to say that you shouldn't be around people that you don't like you or don't get along with, but I think it's important to make sure you have a support group that you can always go to that makes you that really understands you and just takes you as you are,
yeah. I
which is an
agree.
imperfect human. You know, like people are
Hmm.
not flawless all the time. You know, I want friends that are going to be there when I'm up chucking over a toilet and will hold my hair back and be like, "You cute, honey.
I'll
It's
be
all
there.
good. It's
I'll be
all good.
there.
Just get it out. Just
Yes.
get it out." And then afterwards be like, "Bitch, round 2." You know, like I don't know. Like
Absolutely.
like I want friends to go, you know, camping in the middle of the Oregon forests, you if you
I'm
catch my
there.
drift. And like I want friends to like go kayaking and go skiing with and travel the world
Yeah.
and just like live life to the max and really just be happy and like
Hmm.
help each other grow. You know, I think
Yeah.
that's the most beautiful and like important part of life. And so I value you being in my life. So I just, you know, I'm
I love
appreciative,
you
homie.
too. I love you too. And I've definitely learned a lot from you too. Like our friendship, like I think of what I try to do this, but I'm, never really get the accurate. I'm like Kimmy without Nicole and then Kimmy with Nicole. And I'm like, I feel like I've learned how to be more patient in a way, more like calm from like interacting with you from our
Aw.
friendship. Because I
Cruz
always
says the
really,
same thing too. Cruz was like, "I just feel so safe with you, Nicole." I was like, "Oh," he's like, "You have that mother energy." I was like,
yeah.
"Cruz, you are melting my heart right now."
Yeah, like there's certain experiences I'm like, Nicole has really helped me through this, or like, or I was able to like talk to you about it, or I remember like being vulnerable here, but vulnerability alert. When I moved here from Ann Arbor, and I just packed up in the middle of the pandemic and said I'll move to a new city for to start here. I was like, oh, let me reach out to Nicole because I feel alone, and you were
Aw.
able to like talk to me.
I mean, yeah,
Like this,
I can only imagine. Like, it's hard being alone in a new city in the midst of a pandemic. You don't know
in
anybody. It's not like you can
winter.
make friends.
It
Exactly.
was
In
like
that
the middle of
depressing
winter.
ass Midwestern winter, you know it's not cute. It's
Girl,
never cute. Like,
I was going through it. And I just remember I was like, Nicole, like you would text me in the middle of the day, like, are you okay?
you're like, "Are
And I
you
was like,
good, homie?
I
Are
don't
you
know.
alive?"
What day is it? I was so rough. I was like forgetting days and people, and I was like, but
You're all
Nicole's here.
alone. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh Lord." I'm like, "She's overthinking it."
Yes, I'm notorious for overthinking things, but I was roughing it. So you've been there for
Aw,
my puking in the
I
toilet
appreciate.
with my
I
pulling
mean,
my
of course,
hair
man.
out moment.
You got to. You got to be there for, I mean, because it's
Yeah.
like eventually it might be you know, and it's like you don't see those things coming, but you need like a
Yeah.
solid squad to be there for you, not to just be like,
Yeah.
look at her over there, checking.
Yeah, there for the good moments and then gone for the bad moments kind of people. And I honestly I feel like those moments, like when I feel like I mean I hope it's not like all the time because I don't want my friends to go through that, but I feel like when there are those moments where I can be there, those are the moments that you like really define your friendship. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
this is
Because you're like, this is
someone who's
someone that rock with
there.
me. Like they
Yeah.
actually care about me. They're not like,
Mhm.
oh, she's too much to handle now. I'm
Yeah.
just going to abandon this person. Because I've
Mhm.
seen that. Like, and it's not good. Like, it's not good for that person. Like, they're in a vulnerable
Mhm.
situation. Like, you should help them. You know,
Yeah.
not hurt them, not take advantage of them. Like,
Mhm.
genuinely help them.
And
And
people who aren't just there for like the highs, because I'm
yeah,
like, there are
exactly. Because
lows.
life is
Lows.
rough. You know, life is not perfect all the time, and
Mhm.
it's recognizing like, and like I said, like I I'm definitely not the type of person that I feel like that makes friends easily, just because I am very much in my own world. So like, and I'm an only child, so I'm used to being like by myself and just doing things on my own schedule. And like, even my friends from back home could tell you, like, they would get irritated with me because my senior year especially, like, I pretty much didn't have to take a lot of classes. I was pretty much doing most of my stuff online, and I would just leave. I would dip. I would be gone because, again, Harsha did not care. Harsha was out of here. Harsha did not want to be in that school longer than she needed to be, and they would be like, "Bro, like, you're gone all the time. Like, we don't even get to see you." And that's like, I try to be like one, but the thing is like, when you're my friend and you're really my friend, like, no matter what time it is or when it is, I will be there if I can. You know, like, you can call me or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it's like, though I'm, like, always on my own grind, doing busy in my own world, like, I'm always the type of person to be there no matter what, just, like, let me know, you know what I mean? Just let me know, and I will be happy to help if I can. Like, I love my friends, like, my friends are my ride or dies, you know, and I can't wait to go home and see some of them because I love them so much. And they're the people that just make me, you know, feel sane in this crazy world, because I swear, if you hang around the wrong people, they would make you feel like you just don't belong or that there's something wrong with you. When in life, like, we are all unique for a reason. And I don't think, like, it's just finding the right people, you know,
Mhm.
just finding the right folk. So, and I
Yeah, the
think we've
right
done
people
that.
make the world. Yeah.
In Michigan, I don't think I found a lot of people in Michigan because Michigan was too big, and frankly, there were I feel like I learned more at Michigan who I didn't want to be friends with. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like,
That's
it
that's
taught me
important.
more of like understanding where I did not need to put myself. And
Mhm.
I think that was good because not everybody's for you, and
Yeah.
I also just, you know, you just got to be yourself when, whether or not
Mhm.
people like you or not. You just got to
Yeah.
do you, you know, and the right people will find you one
Mhm.
way or the other.
And I just
So,
feel like even with that, like I always go like you might find yourself in a space or around people that you don't connect well with, and that's okay. It's just as long as you respect them and they respect you, that's honestly all that matters. It's like you're not all you don't. like we did not go have the same experiences. We don't have the same
We
like
don't need to
communication
agree.
styles.
Yeah,
We
on
don't have the
everything.
same. Yeah, and that's okay. Like that's what makes it beautiful. Like the uniqueness of our experience. Because honestly, if we were all the same, we're all that would be so boring. I would not be
Exactly.
not the funnest
Exactly.
environment. But it's like
Exactly.
just understand that we didn't grow up the same way. We didn't experience the same things,
But that's
and
fine.
respect
Like,
that and move along and find the people that you connect with, and be open to connecting with people who you don't agree with, and that's okay.
and I'm telling you, just that alone, like literally giving yourself permission and giving yourself space to have conversation with people that you don't agree with, that you
Hmm.
don't like, is so therapeutic for your soul
Yeah,
that you should do it because it's the best thing for society. It
it
is.
helps me try to understand more like what like where like of course I start to feel some type of way inside. I'm
Yeah,
like I
you
feel
can be
uncomfortable.
passionate, you
I feel
know.
uncomfortable sometimes. And then for me, it's like my facial expressions. It's hard for me to
I
hide
feel
certain
you.
ways. Still need to get
Be
that.
like,
And I'm like,
"What? What did you
what?
say?" Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like,
Like, did you really just say that? Oh my
ignore the
god.
looks on my face. I'm listening and I'm taking it all in. I'm taking it all in. Then so I'm like, all right, speak your truth. Just know it's your truth. Then I'll try to understand. Like you just need to really break it down to the core, exactly what it is you're experiencing. Like I need to
Exactly.
understand.
Like, break
Um,
it down for me because I just cannot comprehend right now. And I'm trying
yeah.
to be patient with you, but you making it difficult for me to
Mhm.
be on your side. Yeah, and it's like that's why I honestly like I admire like Will's friendships with the boys because like all of them are different and like they all have different political beliefs, even religious beliefs, just like
Mhm.
experiences. And to hear them argue is the most hilarious shit I have in my life. And it's so funny, but it's like the most beautiful thing too because it's like, well, this is what society's supposed to be like. You're supposed to be able to disagree and still have conversations and still be
Mhm.
friends afterwards. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
mean you just cut people off. Like you should if it's like really 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 bad, but like okay,
Yeah.
like it's still important to be able to have difficult conversations. Like it's
Mhm.
fine, like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Some
okay to not
interactions with
agree.
some people,
Are just
yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah,
Like
so
you gotta know for yourself, where to cut the line and be like, okay, some people are just not worth your time, and that's fine.
mhm.
You know what I mean? It's not worth your time. Sometimes other versions of yourself need to struggle, and you just gotta be like, you're gonna have to struggle through this one. I'm
Mhm.
sorry for you, but you're gonna have
Yeah.
to learn to make better life decisions. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I still think we should be kind to one another more
Yeah.
than anything. Like the world needs kindness.
Mhm.
Kindness is what really I think makes the world work. Like love is what makes the world go around. It's not money. I really think at the end of the day, like money does motivate people, but ultimately, I think it's love. Love is really what gets us through.
Passion. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the pod to talk to me about all of your excellentness
Yeah.
and all of your bravery.
Just sleep now, I think. But it was a pleasure being on the podcast. And honestly, it was just like chatting. Like we were just chilling.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Chatterbox. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to show your support